Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Our Constitution is made only for a moral and a religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Now, if I were to say that today publicly as a politician, boy, the secularist would go crazy. Who actually said those famous words? We'll talk about it as we celebrate Constitution Week. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, and joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. You know, Matt, if I were to say that as a politician, if the President of the United States or government governor or some other elected official would say that publicly, the secularist would go crazy over that. Our Constitution is made only for a moral and religious people. It is not designed to govern any other amoral, religious people. They would say you've lost it. But in fact, those famous words were by our first vice president and second president, none other than John Adams. John Adams is the one responsible for drafting the Massachusetts Constitution, and that's the oldest state constitution in the country, actually in the world. And John Adams, one of our famous founders, echoed these words, but they were not unique to him. That was a understanding shared by many of the founders.
Well, including our first president, George Washington, who also said that the twin pillars of any government we're talking about here, any successful government, are religion and morality. These are twin pillars. What do pillars do? They hold something up. In this case, they hold up the government. Our government is girded by religion and morality. George Washington, our first president, John Adams, our second president, were unequivocal about this, yet as you point out, secularists today, where were they protesting these words? We just recently, in recent months, Texas Governor Rick Perry attended and spoke at and prayed at a massive prayer rally in Houston, Texas, and the secularists lost their minds. Separation of church and state, we heard them cry. Separation of church and state, a phrase that is nowhere to be found in the United States Constitution. Well, I can say with confidence that if the ACLU had been around back upon our nation's founding with George Washington and John Adams, would probably be facing a lawsuit.
Well, for a while in early American history, during Jefferson's time, in fact, the largest church gathering occurred in Washington, D.C., not just in the District of Columbia, but it occurred in the House and Senate buildings where church was regularly conducted. And the most frequent attender of that church service of all the presidents was Thomas Jefferson himself. So, we had actual church in our government buildings. And in fact, if you look at our history is filled with the idea that Christianity and Judeo-Christian principles are the foundation of America. It wasn't just Washington and Adams that talked about these twin pillars. They were commonly understood as being essential. And in fact, our Declaration of Independence speaks of the fact that there is a God, that He is a creator God, and He has created each one of us with certain non-alienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that government's sole purpose is to protect those rights. The idea that God exists and that there are certain obligations and responsibilities that have been created and that we abide by ultimately is the foundation of America. That's why it was so radically different, very different than the French Revolution that said there is no God and morality is changeable and our rights are determined only by what government gives us. In America, we chose a self-governed country. Therefore, we don't have a lot of external restraints. So when we talk about a limited government, the reason why it's limited is government has to adjust. It has to either be large or small based upon the people and the response. If you have a riot, what do? You see more government. You see more police. You see more people in riot gear trying to quell those individuals. If you have a group of people that are uncontrollable, government has to be bigger to control them. But if you have people that are doing good, they're not rioting, they understand and respect each other's liberties, then government can sit in the background. It doesn't have to be big. It is limited. Our government was limited because the people were restrained, moral people, and that was only because of the teachings and understanding and the practices of Judeo-Christianity.
Well, Presidents Adams and Washington believed and said that religion, and by religion, what do we mean? Well, what take it in the context of the time. They're talking about the Christian religion. They understood that religion and morality were indispensable in application to our United States Constitution. What's the other view? The contemporary postmodern view? It's a secularist worldview, and I think Charles Hughes, a former Chief Justice in the 30s and 40s, he sums up that worldview very nicely. He said, quote, "We are under a Constitution, but the Constitution is what the judges say it is." What a far cry from the vision of Adams and Washington and our founding fathers the secularists have embraced, this idea that the Constitution is whatever those in power say it is. Well, that's not a constitutional republic. That is a dictatorship, or in this case, a judiciocracy.
Or an oligarchy, a government by a few. They just tell you what the law is, and it changes from day to day. So you have to open up your newspaper, figure out what liberties you have or what liberties you've lost. That's not a constitutional republic. This was a unique experiment. And today we take it for granted because we're the longest surviving government in the world. But understand that the idea of a republic had been tried before. The small little republics of Rome, those were a template. But they always fell apart. They always diverged into anarchy because they did not work. If you have a lot of if you have very little external restraint, the only way the government's not going to go into anarchy is if the people are doing right. They're moral people. Otherwise, you let everybody go as a free-for-all, it's going to devolve into anarchy. Every republic that was attempted on a smaller scale, and it didn't last very long. America was a republic on a large scale, and it lasted a long time, and it's the obviously longest surviving government in the world. The only way for that to exist, for that to happen, is for the people to have this moral foundation. And the only way for that to occur is through the teaching and inculcation of Judeo-Christianity.
History bears it out. In every great society that was lasting, again, morality and religion were fundamental pillars, just as with the United States. Yet when religion and morality were attacked, were undermined, and ultimately deconstructed, those societies crumbled. We see that happening today. Take Washington and Adams' twin pillars, religion and morality. Take religion. Well, our Christian freedoms, our religious liberties are constantly under attack by secularists, by groups like the American Civil Liberties Union and others. They are trying to deconstruct our religious freedoms. Take morality. Well, particularly sexual morality, the radical homosexual activist agenda, comprehensive sex education, radical feminism, the radical pro-abortion industry. They are trying to deconstruct morality, particularly sexual morality. They are being deconstructed. They're crumbling, and our constitutional form of government is falling along with it.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's Washington says whoever labors to undermine those twin pillars of religion and morality cannot even be called a true patriot, because he understood the survival of the republic was essential and could only be done if the people are moral, and the only way they're going to maintain that morality is through the inculcation of religion. One of the books that we want to make available for you, especially this week as we celebrate and remember Constitution Week, is the New England Primer, because this book taught religion and morality in the public schools. They were taught various moral statements, various moral ideas and religious ideas that were right there alongside their ABCs, alongside how many syllables were in a word. They learned biblical and they learned moral principles. And the reason was, through the teaching in the schools, public or private, they were going to make sure that the future generation respected and underscored and understood liberty. They didn't want to come through the revolution and then lose it because people became amoral. You'll get a copy of that book for only $10. We'll send it to you, and that'll include shipping and handling. We also want to make available for Constitution Week the American Handbook on Patriot's Handbook on American Liberty. It has the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and letter, the speech of Patrick Henry, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, and then an essay from me. For a contribution of $10 for the Patriot's Handbook on American Liberty, we'll send you 10 of these. And for a contribution of $10, we'll send you this New England Primer. So for $20, you can get the New England Primer and 10 constitutions. You can keep one and give out 9. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org. You can sign up for the Liberator. You can sign up for our other resources as well, or you can call us today at 1-800-671-1776. That's 800-671-1776.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.